Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well. Let me make sure that we are live on everything. So, yeah, let's start getting some people in here. So, yeah, live Spanish Q&A. And just ask any question you got with Spanish. Really, that's what we're here for. And we've got the whiteboard, we've got everything here ready to go. So, just hit me with your Spanish questions. I've got these comments pulled up as well. So I think we're good to go. Hey everyone, I see you guys. Hey Fred, Hannah, Anna. Nice to see you on Instagram. By the way, if you want it to look a little bit better on YouTube too, you might get more of like the whole screen horizontal. So I'm live right now on Instagram and YouTube, just so that you're aware. So hop on over there. Good to see you guys. So, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Díganme. Make any question you got with Spanish, any doubts you've been having, anything at all, let me know. And obviously, like I said, you can go on over to YouTube for just maybe a better viewing experience. So, and we'll do some nice Spanish work, Spanish practice over here on the whiteboard to make sure that you guys can see everything okay. And yeah, I'm excited. Let's have a good live session real quick. So yeah, go ahead and whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, I've got the comments pulled up. So ask any question. Anything you've been struggling with, maybe. So maybe you're struggling with, like, I don't know, the past tense or imperfect versus preterite or even indirect objects. Maybe someone said something to you in Spanish and you're like, hey, why the heck did they say it that way? So go ahead and let me know in Instagram or on YouTube what kind of issue you're having. Any comments that you got. How are you guys, by the way? Try to let me know in the comments if you don't have a question what you've done today, but you've got to say it in Spanish. So tell me what you've done, but in Spanish. Si no tienes ninguna pregunta, if you don't have any question at all. So hey Patrick, you're asking, the summer's taking a bit of momentum out of my studying. How do I motivate myself to get going again? It's a fantastic question, and I'll give you some context with kind of my experience when I was learning Spanish, and that was that I took honestly so many breaks. So there would be times where I would over obsess for like a week, and I would be studying and doing everything right for like a solid week or two. I felt great. I was making a lot of progress, and then there'd be times where I just wouldn't do anything at all. Like um, I distinctly remember during those breaks, every single time I would take one, it would stress me out so much because I'd come back and be like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot everything. Like I'm not gonna remember any of the Spanish stuff. I forgot everything that I used to know." And then what I do is, and this is really my tip for you, Patrick. Go find someone to have a conversation with. Maybe go to italki and just schedule a quick lesson. That's all you got to do, really. If you just have because it does a couple things. Number one, it can remind you that, hey, you were making progress with your Spanish. You didn't forget it all. And the second thing it'll do is it'll just motivate you again. You'll be like, dang, this is something I really want to be able to do because it feels so cool talking to this native speaker right now. And it's going to really motivate you to want to get back into it. Just pick up where you left off. Just pick something, anything, and then you'll get back into it. Jan has a good question. How can I integrate grammar properly without just learning the forms? What do you mean by forms? Do you mean verb forms or like specific grammar stuff? So here's what I do when it comes to like grammar. What I specifically did a lot when I was trying to learn Spanish was I would just try to translate anything and everything I could. Any thoughts I was having. I remember like while I was driving or taking a shower, whatever I was doing, I was always trying to think not always, but most of the time, trying to think, how would I say these things that I'm thinking in Spanish? How can I go about my day in Spanish? And then you'd come across something like, okay, I'm at a point where right now I need to be able to compare things, and I don't know how to compare things. And so you would look up how to compare things in Spanish, whether it's a YouTube video. I think I've got a YouTube video on that, by the way. But anyways, you go and then you look up that grammar rule. You don't go necessarily through a whole long list of, hey, ChatGPT, show me every grammar rule that exists in Spanish. No, I would just go where you're trying to learn and translate what anything and everything you can. And then when you come across something that you're struggling with or you don't know or you need to learn, then you look into it. And if you meant the verb forms, that's something that I would highly encourage you to just figure out how to talk in every single tense possible. Definitely, you want to learn more. I put way more focus on grammar. I'm sorry, I put way more focus on verb conjugations and tenses rather than grammar rules. Okay. Estudio español con Duolingo hace year and a half, still have a hard time with the tenses. I'll tell you why. If you're relying on Duolingo for verb tenses, good luck. It's not the hate on Duolingo. I know that's kind of like a fad now where everyone, and I kind of did it when I started this, but I used to use Duolingo a little bit. I'll use it sometimes, but not a lot. And I don't want to hate on it. Like Rosetta Stone, Duolingo, all those things are really great resources. They are. You can't say that they're not. But you have to know how to use them. I used it as what I would call like an airport app, meaning if I'm just at the airport or anywhere, not necessarily an airport, and I just don't really know what to do, what to study or focus on, then I'd go to Duolingo, I'd check it out, and I would, just get some sort of practice in. And that would typically lead me down a rabbit hole where what I was telling, who was it? Was it Jan or earlier? Yeah, kind of, I like, hey, there's this verb tense or conjugation that I don't know, and I know that I need to know it. And then you go look it up through someone else, whether it's me or anybody, you figure out how to do that. So use Duolingo as like a reference, as a way to get new vocabulary. Maybe just practice when you don't know what else to practice. But the actual verb tenses, that's why like the bulk of my full program is the verb tenses. Like I get all of my students, or at least I try to, through every single verb tense possible first in as little time as possible. And if you do want more info about my program, just here's my little plug. If you click on if you go to that link, or if you're on YouTube, you click on the link in the description or the first link in my bio on Instagram, I've got a free training, and it'll show you just my methodology to learning Spanish, which might answer a lot of your questions here, by the way. At the end of that free training too, you hear more about my full Spanish program, and you also get a discount off of it for signing up for that free training. So if it's something that you're interested in, just sign up for that free training, stick around to the end. So yeah, let me get back to some of these questions. Te tengo una pregunta, Ange. Well, dímela. Hazme la pregunta que tienes. Ask me the question that you have. Yep, no problem. I hope that answered your question, Jan. If you had something more specific, let me know too. Do you really need the subjuntivo? Unfortunately, Julia, yes. Really sorry. You do need the subjunctive. And I'll tell you a little story you might have heard before from me. When I found out that there was a subjunctive in Spanish, I wanted to quit. I literally went to this, like, we had this game room in my house. I went there. I like threw myself on the pool table that we had, and I was like, oh my gosh. I just learned. I thought that I knew it all. Like, I thought that I knew how to say I would do something, I will do something, I did do something, I was doing something, I am doing something. Like, I thought I learned every single verb tense in Spanish. And then I found out there was this subjunctive, and I thought that it like existed, but no one used it. Turns out they do. And I really wanted to quit. I was like, this is so complicated. I'm tired of this. It feels like there's always something next. And to plug my program again, that's the whole point, is to teach you everything you need to know about Spanish so that there's no more surprises, right? Because that's the whole point of a program, is you want structure, you want guidance, you want to know that what you're doing is the right thing to be doing. Anyways, that I wanted to quit. But I promise, though, the way that you get through the subjunctive, it isn't necessarily by learning the grammar rule for it or what it is conceptually. You're going to get better at the subjunctive by simply learning what phrases and situations trigger it and which phrases don't trigger it. And if you learn just a few phrases that trigger the subjunctive, it's going to get a lot easier. And let me pull up this whiteboard. I haven't pulled up this whiteboard yet. and I really should have. Let me get to my keyboard. Sorry. So a phrase like I wish I could make this bigger, but for now, we're gonna have to deal with this. I'm sorry. I want someone to do something. If we say a phrase like this in Spanish, we can't say, like, for example, I want you to take out the trash. We can't say quiero tú sacar la basura. I really wish it were that simple. It's not. Instead, we have to rephrase this as I want that you take out the trash. It's really weird. But this is a phrase. Anytime you want someone to do something, the same goes for when you tell someone to do something, when you wanted or told someone to do something in the past, which would trigger the past subjunctive. In this case, you're going to use the present subjunctive, which would be quiero que, I want that. Tú, quiero que tú, we don't have to say tú, saques la basura. And normally, sacas la basura is present simple of just you take out something, you take out the trash. And then saques would be trash. And you'll notice that the conjugations aren't insane with the subjunctive. And I by the way, I would learn the subjunctive last. So if you don't feel like your Spanish is like quite that advanced yet, I wouldn't put too much of a focus on it. I just wouldn't. And so I'll give you an example of a like hablar in the present is hablas, hablamos. You could say habláis if you want to use the vosotros form, but and by the way, like a lot of people ask if I teach the vosotros form. I do. I definitely do. I don't think it should be ignored. I just, for the sake of explaining things in videos, it just takes up less room because not everybody uses it. But it's not too hard to like learn and dive into if you ever want to. So this is the regular present tense, and then you come over here and you look at the subjunctive in the present, and you see just how similar it is. All you got to do is change like the last letter to an E and with AR verbs for the most part, because the rule is actually you take the yo form of a verb and then you apply like that letter, the last letter change. And that's why if you've ever seen the phrase que tengas un buen día, I'm sorry I don't have my keyboard in Spanish. These should have some accent marks here. But anyways, que tengas un buen día. Why is it tengas? Well, it's actually because you've got, this is like the, this is the whole present tense form. You've got tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen, etc. Well, you take that yo form of the present tense, and to make it subjunctive, you just put an a at the end. Tengas, tenga, tengas, tengamos, etc. So when you're saying, this is like you're saying that you have a good day, or may you have a good day, and you're just using the tenga form in the subjunctive, if that makes sense. So I hope that clears up subjunctive, or at least it gives you sort of like a starting point, right? Let me get to some of these concepts. Sorry, Julia. Yeah, let me know any questions you guys have. Feel free to let them in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or Instagram. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, I can also kind of pull up the comment. It's a little bit easier. But would I recommend Babbel? You found it so useful for A1 and A2. Yeah. And that's what I think in general about like Duolingo and Babbel, Rosetta Stone and all that. I don't ever like to hate on those apps. I think they've got their uses, and I think that they're great for that A1 to A2 type level. Once you kind of get towards, and I'm not a huge fan of like grading someone's language ability based on that scale, but I still think it's a good reference point for sure. So like when you get to the B2, C1 type level, I think that there definitely is less use for those apps. I think at that point you have to start just, if you really want to get better, Duolingo, Babbel gives you a good foundation, gives you some good vocabulary just to get you going, get your feet wet. But after that, it's going to require a lot more than just that. It's going to require more immersion. And it's hard to immerse yourself in those types of apps. Immersion is where I put my phone in Spanish. I find people to talk to in my life in Spanish. I put my shows and TV in Spanish. My thoughts are now starting to be in Spanish, where I'm trying to translate and think about anything and everything I can do in the language. And so once you get past like that A2, B1 type level, and you want to level up your Spanish, then it's going to require a bit more guidance than just that. And by the way, I really do recommend, if you haven't done it already, check out my free training. Link is in the first link in my bio on Instagram. You can go to the link there up top. You can go to the link in the description on YouTube. You'll hear more about my full Spanish program at the end, by the way. If it's something you're interested in, you get a good discount if you sign up for the free training. And a lot of these questions might be answered that you might have about learning with me, or just for the free training part of it, you'll learn kind of what I think you need to be focusing on if your goal is to become fluent. And my methodology, how I was able to learn faster than other people, I would say. So let's see. Waters 86. I'm pretty good at understanding Spanish when I read it, but when I hear people speaking it so fast, I can't grasp it. So your issue isn't so much your listening skills are bad. Your issue is more that you're not speaking enough and you're not forming sentences. Anyone, even people that don't really know Spanish that well, can read Spanish, right? I mean, you can read Spanish and kind of figure out what it's saying in English. The trick comes to, if I give you something in English and ask you to translate it to Spanish, how are you going to do with that? And that's a whole different thing, right? That's where you have to use your brain to recall information. Also, one thing is knowing a lot of Spanish up here. Another thing is knowing it down here and actually being able to speak and say things in Spanish and form sentences and different tenses, etc. So your issue isn't that you don't have a lot of words necessarily. Your issue is you're not speaking enough, because speaking is actually going to be the best listening practice as well. I know that might sound odd, but the more that you speak, the more comfortable you get saying things out loud, the better you're going to be able to quickly translate. I mean, the thing is, when you speak a lot, things become muscle memory, and it also, you hear it. And so when you hear someone say it, you don't have to do this whole translation thing in your head. You just immediately associate what someone's saying with the meaning, because you've personally said that thing a lot already. So thanks, guys, for being here, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube. Hola, Alanito. Tres, ¿cómo estás? Cuando cuesta clases privadas contigo? So I can't offer private lessons. I really don't, though. Part of my full program, though, is you get weekly live sessions with me, though, forever. So that's a big bonus, or at least as long as I'm able to do them for. So yeah, if you do want to hear more about that, again, free training, stick around to the end, but sign up for that. So Coreano, nice. Where's everyone from? Let me know in the comments. Like, where are you from? What country? Or if you're in the United States, what state are you from? Since we're so big, I like to kind of get a feel for where all of the followers are from. Is cool. And hopefully this kind of helped you with the whole subjunctive thing. And by the way, the recording of this live will be on YouTube. So if you want to go back and watch anything, or if you join late after it's over with, you'll hear. Got Shay from Colorado. Nice. Gracias por estar aquí. Thanks for being here. Well, let's see. All right, we got obviously Korean, Dinamarca, Virginia, Corea del Sur. Well, I already said that, but yeah, Corea del Sur, obviously. California. Thanks for being here, guys. And again, feel free to let me know any questions that you got for Spanish. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, please. I'd appreciate it. Got a good goal of trying to get to 100,000 subscribers over the next year or so. So maybe we can get there. What's the one thing that maybe you're struggling with the most in Spanish, or what's something that you're working on that you kind of wish that I wish someone would kind of clear it up for me? And the thing with me is that I've been in your shoes, so I've had to learn this stuff myself, which makes it easier for me to explain it, because I know the whole thought process behind trying to figure out some of these complex grammar rules and things in Spanish. Got people from Montreal, Noruega, Eslovaquia. Wow, mucha gente de muchos países diferentes. A lot of people from a lot of different countries. Qué bien. Qué chévere. And also, let me know what Spanish trips you guys got planned coming up. Maybe you're traveling to a Spanish-speaking country soon. But yeah, I'm gonna wait a second to see what other questions we got in, or what other Spanish struggles you got to probably be on for another 15 or 20 minutes too. So we've got plenty of time. We've got plenty of people in here. So don't be shy. No one's going to judge you for any question you got. And again, I'll be happy to kind of pull up some of these examples and help us get through it all. And I'm sure that any question you've got, someone else will have too. Got a question here on YouTube or a comment. So definitely speaking, I'm getting a lot better at listening. So it's the awkward part of when someone talks to me in Spanish, but I can't really reply. So that's the main thing that you're going to have to get over. And that was my biggest struggle at first, was fear of speaking. Like, I'd get so nervous, I'd overthink something a million times, and by the time I go to say it, like, have you ever had that experience where you're sitting there and you've said what you're gonna say 20 times, so you're like, okay, there's no way I mess this up, and then you go to say it and you just mess it up on the second word? So that'll happen to you. You've gotta, the thing that got me to just a whole nother level with my Spanish was, once I got a good feel for it, I was getting better at my verb conjugations and whatnot. I was eventually got to a point where I said, I don't care anymore. I don't care if I sound dumb. I don't care if what I say is just completely wrong. I'm just going to speak no matter what. And once I did that, and once I just started to speak and not try to be so perfect every time I said something, my Spanish skills went through the roof. I got way more fluent, especially with my speaking. So if that's something you're struggling with, do it. But also, if you don't have anyone to talk to necessarily, you don't need someone to talk to. I mean, there's so many, you can talk to ChatGPT nowadays in Spanish if you wanted to. But aside from that point, I promise that just talking to yourself is amazing practice. Start to just translate all of your thoughts and what you're doing. Like, imagine if you did that for a week or two, because we do and say the same things every day. So if you were to do that for a week or two straight, you would be fluent in Spanish for those things that you're doing, right? That's why I always preach that, it's not about how much Spanish you know sometimes, it's about how well you know the Spanish that you do know. So let's get back to some of these comments. And Edith just said, do you recommend an AI program to converse with? I don't have a specific one. I think ChatGPT is just fine, but I know that sometimes you might have to pay for it. So, yeah. Good question here for Lanson. Problem with placing indirect and direct objects with a verb. Okay, or I think that's what you meant. So let's do a little bit of an explanation on that. So we've got indirect and direct objects. I'll do a quick summary and explanation of when to use each one. So obviously with direct objects, we've got mete. You probably know these. You might not. And then, guys, the os is for vosotros, but just for the sake of space, I'm not going to put it there for now. A lot of people get angry with me and act like I don't teach it. I do teach it. It's just I don't want to put it there because it takes up some room. So anyways, we've got mete, le, nos, les. Obviously, these are the same, so what we really have to be able to differentiate is when to use le, les, los, or las. And so I always encourage people to take something like the use of le and les, and just look up different verbs that are likely to trigger the use of it. So you've got verbs that'll obviously trigger indirect objects, like showing someone something, buying something for someone, telling someone something, whenever there's something else going on. And it's really easy to kind of see, once you have that conceptually down, like, what is direct? And here's my biggest tip. When in doubt, use le. It's more likely that, if you are wrong, you're going to sound less wrong. So use le. So my instinct would be immediately go to the use of le and les instead of lo and la, unless you're just sure that it is a completely direct action. And why do I punch my hand here? Because if I say something like, I hit him, it's lo golpeé. almost 99% sure that's how you spell that. Sorry. Lo golpeé, right? Because that is a very direct action. I love her. La amo. You can't indirectly love someone. That's why it's la and not le. So direct action, you're hitting someone, killing someone. I always use that example because it's so extreme and it sticks with people. It stuck with me for sure. I'm loving someone, I'm kissing someone. Like those are direct actions. Whereas, oh, I'm showing this guy something. I'm telling you something. There's something else going on. You're going to use le. So where do you put these? Basically, just give me one sec. Where do we put these? Think about it like before a verb is always a good safety net. You can always put an indirect or direct object before a verb that you conjugate, or you can attach to a non-conjugated verb. Another way of saying that is a verb in its infinitive form, or attach to a verb ending in ando or yendo. And ando or yendo is when we have like the ing ending in English. So let me try to think of some examples off the top of my head. So I am cooking it. So I am cooking is estoy cocinando. So obviously, like I said, when in doubt, you can always just stick it here at the beginning. Lo estoy cocinando. But you could also say estoy cocinándolo. And by the way, when you do that, that emphasis is going to go to like the vowel before. So the emphasis goes here. Estoy cocinándolo. Not estoy cocinándolo, right? And it ends in ando, which is why we were able to put it there. If I were to say I want to do it, we could say lo quiero hacer, but we could also say quiero hacerlo because hacer is in its non-conjugated form. It's not conjugated. It's in its infinitive form. So we can definitely do that as well. But when we have something like I love him, it's lo amo. We can't say amo lo because there's no verb here that qualifies or meets these guidelines here. We don't have a verb that's not conjugated because love is conjugated. And we don't have a verb that ends in that ing, that ando or yendo ending, right? So hopefully that kind of cleared it up for you. See what other questions we got. How do you say in Spanish? Say can have a lot of different uses. Let me get to this one question here from Dan. ¿Recomiendas lecciones de español con hablantes nativos, nativo hablantes, native speakers? So do I recommend lessons with native speakers? I recommend having conversational lessons with native speakers. So I used to use apps like italki, and I think italki is great to find native speakers that you can speak with in Spanish. And I recommend, yeah, that. And it's not to promote myself. I'm just saying that me not being born into Spanish, not being a native speaker, I had to learn it myself. A lot of times these complicated things I can explain better because I've had to learn them myself. And so some of the best tips I've gotten from people when it came to learning Spanish were native English speakers that had to learn Spanish because, again, it's the same concept. Easier for them to explain it. But I loved having conversations with native speakers on italki. So whenever I looked for like a private tutor on italki or something like that, I would just say, hey, I'm just here for conversation, really. I just want to have some good, solid conversations. And so that's what I recommend. Let's see. Uses of say. This is a loaded question. And I don't think I'm going to get to them all. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. Let me think. I'm pulling up some examples so I can help. Maybe that'll help a bit. So first one that comes into my head is the most obvious one with reflexive verbs. I call reflexive verbs mirror verbs because they are things that you do to yourself. And it's basically when you add one of these in front of the verb that you're conjugating for. And say is for he, him, it, or I'm sorry, he, she, it, them, or they, really, like when you say that they do something or you all do something. So third person, basically. For example, he shaves. Se afeita. And it's also how you use it to talk about things in general. So if you say, and the way that you do this is put say in front of a verb conjugated in the third person. For what does this mean? When you say something like, one cooks pasta with, I don't know, beef. That's a weird example. So you could say to talk about in general. We're just talking. So we're just saying in general, you cook this pasta with beef. Se cocina pasta con carne. And cocinar, to cook, is conjugated in just the regular third person, as if we were saying that he or she cooks it. If you were to say Spanish is spoken in Colombia, or in Colombia, one speaks Spanish, it is se habla español en Colombia, right? And another example of, let's see, you've got phrases like se me olvidó, se me perdió. These are phrases that you can put say. This is like you're saying this thing got forgotten. So in a way, it kind of, you're using it as a reflexive verb. So you're saying se olvidó, which means that this thing got forgotten or forgot itself to me, and I was like the victim of that thing getting forgotten or being forgotten. Here, you're saying that this thing got lost, so it is a reflexive verb. It lost itself. We're not saying perdió. We're saying se perdió, which means that he, it, she got lost to me. So I lost it, right? And it's a way, these are called like accidental phrases because they take away or they shift the blame away from you in a sense. So those are like the main uses of say. I've got some different videos on it, I believe, on YouTube too, that you can check out if you want more in depth on that. So hopefully that kind of just gives you a decent guide and some clear steps for going after say and the different uses, and you'll probably notice them pop up from now on too. So just think automatically, it's like, is this reflexive? Is this being used to talk about something in general? Is it one of these accidental phrases where this thing got lost or got forgotten or slipped someone's mind, and who was the victim of that? Se me olvidó or se le olvidó. This thing got forgotten to this person. But anyways, guys, if you have any last minute questions, please let me know, whether you're on YouTube or Instagram. I'm about to log off too, so I'd be happy to answer any other questions. And guys, just to show you my resource, if you like how I teach, if you do appreciate me, I do want to invite you to my free training up here. So it's either in the first link in my Instagram bio or in the YouTube description. You can also just go to michaelharperspanish.com and click on Let's Get Started. But I'm going to show you my methodology that allowed me to become fluent in Spanish within a year. How to show you to do the same, what to focus on, what not to focus on. So if you haven't signed up for that already, I highly encourage you to check it out. You'll also hear more about my full Spanish program, A to Z Spanish University, at the end. And you'll get a discount as well if you're interested in learning Spanish with me. So I really appreciate you guys. I will get to this last question, which is por versus para. And I also did do a good Instagram reel on this a couple days ago. So look back on it if you do want to remember some of these uses. I've got a good YouTube video on this as well. But por versus para, I always say, when in doubt, use para, because if you are wrong, it's going to sound less wrong. But I don't recommend that you think of these as similar words, but rather two different words that have two different triggers or uses. So por can mean through. It can mean for when you're talking about money, or exchanging something. I'll give an example for all of these as well. You've got for someone when there was a reason or motivation or something like that. Para can mean in order to. It can mean for some. This means in the context of someone receiving something. You've got para que, means so that. So yeah, there's some different uses, but let's talk about a couple of these. So por, through. I walked through the door. Caminé por la puerta. That's por. You've got exchanging something or money. I paid $5 for my watch. Pagué $5 for mi reloj. We're talking about something to do with money or exchanging items or goods. For someone motivation wise, I know this is an extreme example again, but it always helped me remember this. I killed him for you. This is super dramatic. Lo maté por ti. Like, I did it for you. I killed this guy for you. There was a reason. There's a motivation. There was a cause for my action. That's what I did it for. Por eso, by the way, por eso, for that reason, or more generally, that's why is what por eso means. I'm just going to throw that over here. Por, in order to do something. In order to pass the test, study more. Para pasar el examen, estudia más. Right? For someone receiving something, I bought this for you. Compré esto para ti. So notice that this is a heck of a lot less dramatic than this. And so I always think of the por, like having a reason or motivation for something, as a bit more dramatic for, whereas para is just in general. Oh, it's for you. Oh yeah, I bought this for you. Hey, I did the test. Now, if you were to say like, oh, I copied or I studied all night for you or to help you, maybe that would be por, but it's just in general for you or for someone, para. And then so that, I did that. I killed him so that we could be together. Para que pudiéramos estar juntos. By the way, para que, the next verb that follows is always going to be in the subjunctive, which I'm leaving you on a terrible note, which is the subjunctive. Nobody likes the subjunctive. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this live, and I hope you guys want more of these as well. Head on over to YouTube if you want to watch the replay and go through all the questions. I think that this has already been about 40 minutes, so it's a pretty good live episode. And I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to go rest my voice now and finish up some work. Let me know in the YouTube comments as well. I read pretty much all of them. And so if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. Also, guys, free training. Please check it out. I really think you can get a ton out of it. If learning Spanish and becoming fluent is a goal or a dream of yours, if you imagine, and this is serious, guys, if you imagine being able to actually speak with native speakers a couple of months from now confidently, or maybe like I saw some people on there, they're like, hey, I've been doing Duolingo for a year, 2 years now, and I don't feel a ton of progress. That is made for you. So whether you're a beginner, whether you're already like an intermediate to advanced learner, and you're trying to figure out like what is lacking in my Spanish learning, check it out. It'll show you my 3 strategies that you need to apply to accelerate your Spanish learning. And again, you'll hear more about my full program if you're interested in that at the end. All right, I'll stop plugging that. I will log off now. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. I want to get to 100,000 subscribers within a year or so, if it's possible. I really care about you guys, and I care about you guys learning Spanish. So I appreciate you being here. I'm here to help you guys. So see you in the next one. Ciao.